Hi, my name is Brian Fox. I recently sat down with all 9 town council and school committee candidates to learn more about them. Questions were developed by myself and members of the Wakefield, Massachusetts Community Page Facebook group and were not reviewed by WCAT, and no candidate was provided a final list of questions ahead of time. For preparation, I reviewed all 9 candidates' voting and town census records back to 2016, looked at posts on local Facebook groups, campaign pages, conducted online searches, and read the Wakefield Daily Item. These interviews were not done at the request of WCAT, and the views expressed are my own as an individual. Lastly, thank you to WCAT for helping with this huge undertaking, and thank you to all the candidates who are running for a volunteer position in our town. Welcome to a special episode of Fox Talks. Tonight we're talking with Amy Wall. She is a school committee candidate for the 1-year term. So welcome, Amy. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Brian.
Just want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am born and raised Wakefield resident. I live right now currently over near the Hurd School. I have lived here my whole life, except I lived on the west side for a little bit of time. I have 2 kids in the school system. My oldest daughter is Olivia. She's 12, currently a 7th grader at the Galvin. And my youngest is London. She's 3, and she's at the Doyle School. I am a WHS graduate of 98. Let's see. I've been involved kind of with the town. I'm on the zoning board currently. I've been involved with that since 2014. It's something I really, really enjoy. I'm very a big proponent of small business. It's something I kind of champion all the time. I've worked for numerous places in Wakefield since I was 14. When I started working, my first job was at Smith Drug. I worked at Cravings. I've worked at the Savings Bank. I currently work at the T-Stop. So I like to keep things local when it comes to that stuff. My mother had owned a business in town for over 30 years. So it's something that, you know, I've always been a part of the community and something that I want to continue to do. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
So aside from all the local businesses you've worked at, what other local organizations have you been involved in?
So with local organizations, let me try to see. Just things that I've
I know you're very active in the town. So
yes,
sure.
yeah. I'm just trying to see, like, do you mean donated for or volunteered for?
Well, volunteered for.
Okay. So I typically have done things kind of on the side. I've never really done a whole volunteer thing where I've signed up and I've worked for a thing. I tend to more see when there's issues that come up, try to put my hand in to many different things. So whether it's, a blood drive or a food drive, school supplies, things like that, I try to help out in as many places as I can. If I see a need for something and it's something that I'm able to help with, then I just try to jump in and do that. I try to do a lot of stuff with animals, nationally. And I do a lot of stuff with there's animal shelters in Aruba that I've tried to help out with. That's something that's near and dear to my heart. So it's just kind of a little bit, if I see a need for something and I can help out with it, then I try to jump in.
Good. So this is your first time running for school committee, right?
Yes.
So you're running for a 1-year term, and you
Correct.
could have run for 3, 2, or 1-year terms to fulfill the people that resigned from the board. Mm-hmm. Why did you choose the 1-year term?
So for right now, it's something I've like I've said, I've been involved in town politics and government for some time. School committee was something that I kind of wanted to see, is this something that I'd be good at? Would I be beneficial to the board? And I think by taking, there's not usually an opportunity for a 1-year seat. So by taking that chance and kind of putting myself out there and seeing, is this something that I can benefit the community, I can benefit the kids in the town, it kind of gives you a chance to get your feet wet and see what you think of it. Is this something that that I can be a help for the community?
No, it's a good test run to see if you wanted to do a full 3-year term.
Right.
So an important part of holding a local office is participating in town meeting and voting in town elections. So how do you think your voting record has been over the years?
I think very fair. I try to hear both sides of issues. I try to take my own beliefs and stances and try to see where that falls with them. I have made every effort to vote in every election that I'm able to, as you've seen from my record. The one town meeting I missed was because I had given birth 2 days before. I sat in town meeting having contractions on May 1st, 2017, while having contractions, and ended up having my youngest daughter the next morning. So I did not attend that Thursday's follow-up town meeting. But other than that, I go in, I try to listen. If I don't understand something, I ask questions. I ask a lot of questions because I want to make sure that I understand what's going on and what's being voted on. And, people's voices count. So let's make sure we get things right.
I have to say, your town meeting dedication to go in.
Yeah.
In those circumstances is many people have excuses why they miss a town meeting, but
right. Yeah. I think that one got me out
that's
of
a valid excuse to stay
right.
home.
I actually almost brought her in just to come in to say she's here and then leave, but I decided to stay home.
I mean, I've skipped town meeting to see a Bruins game, so I give
There
you
you go.
credit
Yeah.
for that.
We'll give it to
you. So what is your education field's background as it relates to the school committee?
Sure. So I am a graduate of LaSalle College, now LaSalle University. My background, my degree is in fashion design and textiles. I have a minor in fashion merchandising. So how does that relate to school committee? Well, I mean, I learned how to work well under pressure, I guess is the best way to kind of correlate the two. Senior year, we had to do an entire thesis project with an entire line of fashion. We had runway shows, things like that. And everything is very, it's on timelines. There's a lot of details that go into things, and you just have to, you got to roll with the punches. Mistakes get made, and you got to pick up, and you got to meet those deadlines and make sure you get things done. So I think, as fashion doesn't really maybe go along with, different things that are happening, but my experiences of the pressure of being under, I guess that could kind of be beneficial for me.
So are there any other skills you think you bring to the school committee?
Absolutely. So customer service is something that kind of has always been my background. I kind of aim to please. I'm a helper by nature. So I think that having that and the willingness to kind of adapt to different people is something that's helpful, because when you're in a position like that, you're dealing with everybody. It's not just your friends. It's not, people that you hang out with all the time. There's people of many different mindsets, and you have to kind of adapt to that type of thing. So having that, as I feel that that's one of my best features and best traits. So I think that that's something that would be beneficial.
What do you think the main objective of the school committee is?
So the main objective, it kind of goes along with their mission statement, is making sure that we have kids that are coming out of there in the best possible way that they can. I apologize, I don't have it memorized.
That's okay. I don't have it either.
Yep. But, we want to make sure that we're giving these kids the best possible education that we can, and that they're getting all the opportunities that all of our surrounding towns are, that nothing's being left behind. We want to make sure that we're putting these kids out there in the workforce that are ready to work and ready to be good citizens and carry on and create their own families, and with positive memories and backgrounds from where they came from.
So where do you see the Wakefield Public Schools going in the next 5 to 10 years?
The next 5 to 10 years. So obviously
this year's kind of a wash. So,
right. Yeah. In my opinion, I hope that we see a new high school. I'm pretty confident that my oldest daughter won't be able to benefit from that, as she's already in 7th grade. Hoping that my youngest one would, and the rest of the kids in the community would be able to have that as well. I think that we need to really tap in on these kids and find out, especially after this past year. There's a lot of mental health issues that are going on currently, that had been prior to the epidemic, but now it's kind of made that a lot worse. So I'd like to see different things that are put in place, resources, working together with the resources we have in this town, because we have a lot of great outlets in this town for the kids. And I think it would be, that's something, you know, a goal of mine is to make sure that these kids are in a safe place and they feel safe and they have somebody to talk to if they need to, and people that know their stories.
So there's a chance that a new vocational school is going to be built,
Mm-hmm.
near the current location, a chance for a new Wakefield High.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been some concern about traffic and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So as part of your zoning board activities and also school committee,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think about that situation that might be coming up?
Yep. So it's traffic is something that we deal with a lot on the zoning board. It's always something that I recently more so have really been paying a lot more attention to it. It's definitely something that has to get looked into. We have a fabulous traffic advisory council. They do their work. They do the studies. It's something that I think this is something that's going to be on a bigger picture, that there'll probably be more people involved in what's going to happen, depending on, the placement of the high school, the placement of the Voc, what kind of cars and traffic are going to be coming in and out. It's something that definitely needs to be looked at, because in my opinion, the traffic in this town is getting bad and kind of all over town. So we have to find those spots and try to remedy them the best that we can. So working with the resources that we have, who are the experts on things, and hopefully we can get it done correctly.
Related to the traffic part of it, as you know, there's been a housing boom in Wakefield
Mm-hmm.
over the past couple of years. A lot of new divisions being built, condos, apartments.
Mm-hmm.
There have been concerns in the past from some parents that kids were being sent from not necessarily their neighborhood school, but to another one that had room.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think the school committee can do about those issues?
So, I mean, we have a lot of spaces in town. I mean, it might be something that would be worth looking into. I know that there was talks with the Herd School about what can we do with the Herd School, and it's a lot of money to try to revamp that. It's not up to code. How do we turn these older buildings into schools that can be utilized today? It's a longer conversation, and if it's something, do we need to hire more teachers so we don't have so many kids in the classroom? It's hard because you have these developments that are coming in, and a lot of them are offering affordable housing units, and we're in desperate need of affordable housing in this town and a lot of communities. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. We don't want this overdevelopment, but at the same time, this is bringing in and giving people the opportunity, and it's making our community more inclusive to people that, not just the people that can afford the $800,000 houses. So, it's a double-edged sword, and I don't know that there really is a right answer to that question. I think it's something, that it's definitely something that needs to be talked about, but I think it's something, a further issue with more information and more knowledge about what can be done and where things can be done.
No, which makes sense, because I think if anybody had the answers to this, then they'd be very lucky, because
We'd be in a good spot, I
no one
think.
seems
Yeah.
to know what needs to be done.
Right.
And just, to know there's kids from the Walton that were sent over to another school because the kindergarten was too full, and then they come back, and there's a lot of shuffling going on.
It's hard, and especially for parents with kids, more than one kid, and one kid's at one school and the other one's at another, and you have to pick up at the same time, and it's a lot of juggling for people.
This year's school budget is set to increase by 4.88%. In the past, the school committee was criticized for spending beyond agreed upon amounts. As you know, this happened a few years ago now. So how can you work to improve the school district while also keeping those taxpayers in mind that are concerned about the rising expenses of the school?
Right, and this is something I think that affects everybody with the rising cost of the budget. So I have a background. I had worked for Anheuser-Busch years ago, and I actually did the marketing budget for special events and promotions. So I do have a little bit of a background with with budget. So it's something that I definitely would be interested in. I know there's subcommittees and we would get put on those committees, but that's something that I would definitely hope to be a part of. I think there's always ways to find savings. I guess I'm a pretty good shopper. um, so I'd like to,
That is an important skill that no one's
it's
brought
a
up for
very
the school
important
committee.
skill.
So that's
Yes.
good.
If there's a deal, I can find it. Ask my friends. um, but no, there's definitely ways to look around things. And again, it's looking at the whole picture and asking questions and making sure that we're not just jumping on the first thing we see because of, it looks pretty. We got to make sure that we're really digging deep and finding the best solutions and that we can fit everything we need in the budget. I think having a budget and saying this is how much you can spend makes more sense than just saying this cost, this cost, this cost, and then at the end of the day, oh, now we need a 4% increase of what we had. I'd like to try to see, and obviously budget is something that's very difficult. Again, it's not black and white, but something that could be done. Here's your budget. This is the amount of money you have to spend. Figure it out. I'd rather see something like that can kind of make people feel a little bit better that their pockets are being looked out for.
I know you were involved in the Wakefield Warrior logo debate. You had spoken in favor of it at the public forum. You signed the ballot vote petition. So I was wondering what your thoughts were now that it looks like it's been retired.
So, I mean, anybody that knows me knows where I stand on this issue. It's something that has been important to me with conversations I've had with people. And I continue to hold on to, supporting the people that have told me that they don't want to be erased. The conversations I've had have been very impactful, and I'm not taking away anybody's opinion on anything. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. So, I mean, it's been done. I still hope people will go out and show for either side, whichever side they choose. My whole issue with the whole thing was about the lack of transparency. And I felt that our voices were kind of being silenced a little bit. So I feel like it's very important. Democracy is something very important to me, as we've already talked about. I think that it's important for people to get out and vote and do, what they think is right. And they stand their ground and do it respectfully and in a kind manner. With that being said, I think that there's more important issues to be working on. As a member of the school committee, hopefully I get that opportunity. I'm really focusing on mental health and as well as the teen vaping and drug abuse epidemics that we're seeing currently. So that's kind of my focus, but my stance as well.
So for the mental health, vaping, and drug addiction, do you have any other focuses for your term that you're hoping to accomplish?
So for right here, because it is only a 1-year term, I wanted to keep my goals something that would hopefully be attainable. I don't want to bite off more than I can chew and say, oh, I want to do this, 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 and this. That's great. But if you can't do it, then it's just lip service. So those are my two focuses. The vaping epidemic is something that's very, very important to me. And I've been reaching out to psychologists and nurses in the police department to try to figure out what can we do? Let's get this right. We have a huge problem on our hands. The number of increasing youth that had started vaping and is doing it regularly from 2 years ago, I believe the number was 3%. And last year during the epidemic, it was up to 10%. It's something that we have to figure something out about it. So, and that's a big deal. So I don't want to take off more than the issues I've spoken of. I mean, obviously other things will come up that maybe take precedence over them. We need these kids back in school. We have to focus on their mental health, and then we can focus on what the other issues are. So I'm not opposed to other issues. It's just, those are kind of my little pieces for right now to see what can we do with this, and then hopefully grow from there.
So the kids are going to come back to school after just about a year off of full-time education. And a lot of families are concerned about going back to school
Mhm.
having full classrooms for the first time in a year. What would you say to those families that are concerned about coming back?
I want them to know that the schools are taking the precautions that they need to take. Just from what I've seen with my own kids, I feel comfortable and confident that they're being taken care of. It's a good thing, and it's also very sad at the same time. When we had our parent-teacher conferences, we always ask, my oldest daughter, she does very well in school. We always ask though about, her social side of it. Is she making friends? Is she being a good member of the class, things like that. And it was sad this past year because they said, these kids don't have a chance really to interact with each other. They come in their straight line, they sit down in their seat, they stay there all day, they get up and then they leave. And so in a sense, in a safety sense, it's really good because there's not a lot of interaction where things can be spreading. It's sad and in the sense that they're not having the opportunities that they should be having when they're in the middle school. But I hope that other parents feel confident that the schools are doing their due diligence and following the protocols given out by the CDC. And if they feel unsafe or feel something's going on, then there's great teams at the schools that they can reach out to and hopefully get things remedied.
So I guess coming out of this year, what have you learned about yourself and your family with everything that's gone on?
I think I've learned that I am stronger than I thought. I've become, I think, more patient. I've become more willing to put myself out there, I think. At the very beginning of the pandemic, nobody knew what was going on and everybody was scared and fearful. What do we do? So instead of sitting around and just kind of staring at each other, I said, you know what? I have a talent. I'm going to try to do something that's going to help other people and maybe take my mind of what's going on. So I started making masks and did that for probably 4 or 5 months, I think. I made about 1,300 masks that I donated. Friends, family, different organizations, groups, people I didn't know, mailing them across the country. It was something, I dug deep inside and thought, again, what can I do to help? How can I help people? Let me find a way to do that. And it's also taught patience, I think, by, when you're sitting in the same room with the same people every day, life gets hard, and just kind of holding on to, especially with my littlest one, holding on to that time and making sure that everything is special. And you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. So you have to kind of take everything for what it is, the good, bad, the ugly, everything, and just roll with it.
So considering that we're still in the midst of a pandemic, how are you planning on campaigning at this time?
Yeah, it's a good question. If you have any ideas, let me know.
Well, I wouldn't recommend big public events, but
right, exactly. Yeah, well, and that's what I keep saying. I'm like, I'd love to have something, but too many people would come, and I don't want to kick anybody out. So, for right now, we've been holding signs. I'm just trying to have my team put stuff on social media, and chatting with people I know, making phone calls and texts, encouraging my friends and family to do the same thing. We're trying to figure out. I'm going to try maybe to do a. People have done drive-by birthday parties, do a drive-by meet and greet. I'll stand out in front of my house. They can drive by masked up and, and
that is a unique idea. I haven't heard from anybody yet. So
oh, good. Okay. Yeah, it's mine. I coined it.
You own the drive-by
yes.
meet and greet there.
There we go. Perfect. Other than that, if people have ideas, I am open to anything. But other than that, I think just getting the word out and having people speak for me and talk about the good things I've done and why they stand with me and I guess hope for the best.
Great. Well, good luck to you for the April 27th election.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully you can find a way to campaign and get your message out there with everything going on, and good luck to you.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Brian. This is really fun. Thank you.
Thank you.